I wanna be happy like you. I wanna be happy like you. You make it look easy, right?
All right, guys. Welcome in to the second recording of the How to Unhex Your Ex podcast.
It's actually our third. Yes. Second recording. I understand now.
Yeah.
Yep. 2.0.
We did a recording and then decided that it wasn't what we wanted it to be. So
Yeah.
here we are, starting over.
Yeah, we sat down and recorded an episode, and it was largely motivated by current events. And when we sat down and listened to it back, I'll speak for myself. When I sat down and listened to it back, I found myself doing what I think I do a lot in life. I think it's like my first line of defense in terms of my nervous system is to put rose-colored glasses on stuff. And when I listened back to that episode, I was like, wow, you really dodged the discomfort of that time so eloquently. Like a real professional. So it seemed like worth a redo. And I think even more so, I think it might be important for us to revisit the early time when we split up, and just kind of remember what that felt like. Talk about what that felt like, where we both were as individuals, and just kind of the process we went through to figure out how to get here 8 years later. But the early days.
Yeah, it was some of the less flattering times of things. Some of the things were said, things were done. None of it was super cool, but we did it. We got through it. And
in having conversations about it after the fact, I think it's really important to be honest about the fact that that's my defense mechanism is to just try to remember it as something less gnarly than it actually was. And you and I, over the course of 8 years, have evolved our co-parenting relationship into a friendship. But it very much so started as feeling like we were enemies, like we were on opposing teams. And like we did have the common goal that was our child. But we were both hurting people, and that was what we were capable of projecting at that point towards each other.
Yeah. Hurt people.
Yep.
And that's where we were for sure.
And I think for both of us, we really haven't sat down. Matt and I have given each other apologies over the years when things pop up or something happens and we realize we're doing something differently. And we take the opportunity to be like, hey, I didn't do this in the beginning, or there were times when I didn't do this and it was, hurtful or wrong. And we get to offer an apology during that time, which has been so cool. But in terms of like sitting down and going through and reliving all of it, we haven't really done that. We survived it. So like, why are we going to spend a lot of time?
Just leave it alone.
We're just going to leave that all back there.
Yeah, we don't need to mess with that.
But I think it's really important to paint an accurate picture of where we were and where we started at. And not put rose-colored glasses on the beginning piece. Because to be able to come back from that, I feel like that's where we may lose some people, is them not being able to see like the true depths of how bad it was, to be able to like relate. Because a lot of the people we know that are co-parenting, are going through things that we haven't talked about openly having gone through ever.
Yeah. And in hindsight, looking at the previous 2 episodes, it makes everything sound so easy. And it was far from easy.
Yeah.
We did things, said things, experienced things that were not super cool and not sexy. And I think going back through that and somewhat reliving it makes things more relatable to the folks who are in the trenches with it now.
Absolutely.
I think that painting this picture of this cohesive front without showing all of the steps that we're gone through to reach that cohesive front is kind of, it's invalidating to the folks that are doing it now.
Yeah.
And kind of invalidating to us,
Absolutely.
honestly.
And our people.
Yeah. Our partners, and I think it's just an invalidating thing, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be awesome.
I will say that this is probably not the episode to listen along with your kids in the car or whatever. Maybe it's just adult content. Some of it will be more adult content.
No cursing, though.
I wouldn't dare.
No cursing.
I wouldn't dare.
But all right. Well, I'm sure you have notes.
I do have
so
notes.
I'll let you jump off from there, and then.
So yeah, I started with a timeline, trying to write down what my brain remembered. And we actually started off this morning's conversation, you and I, talking about how both of us are going to have kind of a different perception and memory of what happened because we had two very different lived experiences. So I think I should start with the fact that you weren't my first marriage. You were my second marriage. I got married when I was 19, and the person that I got married to, he was 12 years older than I was and from a different culture. And we only knew each other for 5 months when we got married. So we really, it was not going to ever work out. And when he and I split up, I ran into you, and most of our formative connections in my mind, when I sat back and remembered all of it, was like building a really cool friendship, even in the beginning. Like, we were connecting on music. Which I guess that's how all relationships start. But that was the connection between us, was a friendship first. And
we vaguely knew each other too.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were two strangers meeting in the night. I mean, we knew each other.
Yeah, totally. And the first 2 years of our relationship were amazing. They were just easy. And then we had Cohen. And when Cohen came along, and I have said this 1,000 times, that it was like that was my first day on earth with him. Like, when he was born, everything that had happened prior to him maybe made even less sense or more sense. Like, I don't know how to describe it. He just changed my entire perspective about the world. And that was like meeting myself for the first time, meeting him. I think both happened at the same time, where I was like, holy shit, everything I know about parenting or what I thought I knew about parenting and love and all these things is now suddenly very different because I've met this kid. And I had really bad postpartum anxiety that it went undiagnosed for 2 years. Like, I don't think, I went to the doctor and they told me maybe you have some postpartum depression, but I was never really depressed. Like, I was just perpetually worried about everything Cohen related. I never left his side. I didn't want to be away from him. Like, there was just this deep worry around him. And I now understand that my brain was struggling with the hormonal impacts of pregnancy, birth, and now postpartum, and having to sustain life for this child with my body. And it was just so many things. And about a year and a half after Cohen was born, you were working 8 days a week and in school and getting what rest you could when you were home. And that experience for me was incredibly isolating. I think this is probably the part in the conversation where I just start crying because while you and I have talked about this, I don't really know that I know how hard it was because so much of it was just survival. Like looking back on that time for me felt like the antithesis to everything I had ever been told motherhood would be. I thought motherhood was going to be easy and natural. And while those things are true, it also came along with this deep feeling of insecurity and underpreparedness and fear for me. And it was just a very isolating experience to be a young, like in those young tender years with Cohen. It was isolating. I felt isolated.
Yeah, I feel that there's a few things that probably exacerbated that. I mean, one, me working as much as I did and schooling and doing all the things,
Yep.
was probably a lot. But I also feel that is a byproduct of postpartum. It just, you go from having this independence and this ability to do and be, and now you're just, and especially in those early years, I mean, you're just living for this little creature, and so.
And I think the struggle that I really had was finding a way to talk about that, a way to say, because for me, admitting that I was having a hard time was somehow indicative that I was wrong for this, that I wasn't the right person for Cohen. And I remember very vividly thinking those things about me as a mother, as a parent to our child, is that because I feel so worried all the time because I am, riddled with insecurity, that I am incorrect in this child's life. And that was a thought that I had for 2 years almost.
Yeah. And admittedly, if we had that conversation, which we didn't.
No,
which is, it's so wild looking back on it, but
we were surviving those days though. Like
looking back at 28-year-old me, I think is,
no, you were
29.
You were 30 because I had Cohen when we were 28.
Okay,
I was 28.
30-year-old me that's trying to survive respiratory school and all of that stuff, and working full time on top of that and doing all the things. I can't speak definitively, but I can probably say that in the mindset I was in that moment, it would probably not have been well received, which is unfair.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's kind of a weird thing. It's kind of hard to look back on that and admit that if you had come to me with that, I probably would not have been as receptive as what it deserved.
I also just did not have the language or the understanding of the complexities of motherhood and parenting in general, that like it is an extension of your individuality now. The parenting is an extension of your individuality. Initially, it felt like a dissolution of my individuality, and it made me feel impaired to be everything that this child needed and deserved me to be. And I just didn't have the language to communicate that to you. I did not have, I didn't have it in me to even accept that about myself, because again, that would then mean that I was bad or wrong or malaligned with our child. And those were things that I just plainly couldn't even consider. And I now know not to be true. It is just the experience of becoming a parent and becoming a mother that is so disruptive to the status quo that you've learned up to that point.
Yeah, it's a whole other level of responsibility that you.
all in the mix of having these disrupted hormones and sleep schedule and just like a complete entire disruption to everything you've ever known.
Yeah.
All while adding this extra responsibility of maintaining the life and wellness of this human being.
Yeah. That's your main priority now.
Yeah.
But I also feel like we're shortchanging the story, not to mention that Cohen was not an accident.
No.
Cohen was very, very planned.
For.
He was very, very planned. We struggled with fertility issues and things.
Yeah, I had to go on medication to actually get pregnant with Cohen. And that experience, again, was so hormonally disruptive to all of the chemicals in my body that it was just a wild mental game.
Yeah. So in hindsight, I would think we glorified the idea of being parents.
Oh my God.
I mean, we literally
embodied it before we ever were parents.
Yes. Yeah, through various different ways.
Yes.
But we definitely romanticized the idea of this being a parent was just going to be the most glorious thing. And then, so I'm sure it was quite the shock to your system for this little fella to come. And then you realize I'm stuck in this house. I'm by myself. He poops and pees and cries and it's constant. And Cohen was not the easiest baby in the way that he wouldn't take a bottle. He wouldn't take a sippy cup. He needed you. And so to be that sole source of food, to be the sole source of all the things, it had to be tough. I'm sure it was. And it was something that, again, I wasn't, because of
a different kind.
Yeah, because of our financial situation at the time, like we mentioned in the first run of episode 3, we were poor, and so I had to work a lot, a lot, and so I worked a lot, and I was also
you were
schooling.
A full-time student.
Yeah,
you were a full-time student. You worked a full-time job. And you were the sole source of income for our family. I nannied some kids that I loved. That was such a fun time. Like that honestly helped with me feeling super isolated, was being able to have these other cool people around, these little tiny humans.
Yeah.
But like you were carrying the weight it was just very heavy. And I don't think in those moments, I think there was a part of me that really expected you to find a way to muster up the strength to do it anyway, type of thing. Like figure out without me communicating. And this is probably a thing that I sometimes still struggle with, is just like this expectation that you'll be able to see me struggling in my struggle, even though you were dog dead tired. And
yeah, I think that's an across the board thing, though. I feel that that's something that most married couples struggle with.
Absolutely agree.
I shouldn't have to tell you that I'm upset. You should see that I'm upset. And it's, well, how do I know what that upset is in relation to? You know, how do I know that you being upset is a direct result of me?
Sure.
How am I supposed to know that?
Yep. It feels like an additional labor, though, to have this expectation. And again, now I realize that I had that expectation. Then I didn't. And so it just felt like this giant letdown that you were just oblivious. And in ways I think you were.
I was. There's no thinking to it.
Yeah.
I was oblivious to it. And whether that was, I don't know that my obliviousness was on purpose. I don't think I was making the choice to be oblivious. I think that it was a byproduct of being pulled in 500 different directions constantly.
Yeah. And you, I think, really just being committed to some of the things that you saw growing up, like your dad being an ultimate provider for your family. You had 3 brothers. I mean, you had 2 brothers. There were 3 boys in your house, and your mom. And like, if I know anything about your dad, is that he is very committed to what he does at work and providing for his family. So I know that those were the building blocks to you. And in hindsight, now on this side, I very much see that being what you fixated your brain to, was like, I have a family, I have to provide for them. This is priority number one.
Yeah.
And now I'm very thankful that I have language to say, I feel undersupported and this doesn't feel right. And XYZ is the reason why. But in those early years, it was very much so survival. And like, I did not know how to speak for myself about what I needed. I didn't even know what I needed.
Yeah. And
like,
while you have that voice now, that voice was not there through the end of our marriage.
No.
It wasn't.
No,
So,
the way I resented you, like I would be feeding Cohen and trying to eat a cheeseburger with one hand or something, and like not knowing how to advocate for myself and say, and also having this belief that if I did advocate for myself or ask for help, that made me inadequate in some way. I remember times when you would try to show up to help me when I was overwhelmed, and I would just be like, no, please, just let me do it. Like,
yeah.
I just have to be able to do this thing, because in my mind, I had convinced myself that if I took a break, if I stepped away, if I wasn't everywhere that child was all the time, that I was a bad mom, that I was an inadequate person. And I realize now, how much of Cohen's childhood, tiny years, were robbed from me because of that. Because I felt so inadequate. It was just really hard to convince myself otherwise.
Yeah. Well, that's another interesting thing there, the idea of childhood years being robbed, because it's interesting to hear that you feel that way, because I feel the same. And that's something that Amber and I have talked about with Hattie. It's such an interesting experience because I've gotten to do so many of those things with Hattie that I never got to do with Cohen. I've gotten to experience things with Hattie that I never got to see with Cohen. And so it's hard looking back at it, because I did miss so much of that time with him because I was not there. And it wasn't there. It wasn't that I was at the bar drinking. Sure. It was just, I was at work, or I was at school, or I was at school the day you went into labor with Cohen.
Sure was.
I had to leave school and drive back to Asheville.
Yep.
To take you to the hospital.
Yeah. There was no moment that you stopped or slowed down ever. And that was also a weight that I carried around too, that like, if I ever vocalized a need, that it was somehow like, it was just wrong because you already were carrying so much. And I feel like it was really unfair in those early years that I had convinced myself of that. I couldn't really lighten your load at all. Like, I can't go to school for you. I can't go to your job for you. But it felt like we had two different, like we had jobs, and mine was to care for Cohen and yours was to care for literally everything else. Yeah. And how now I realize that if I had, language and will to communicate and advocate for myself, that my experience as a mother in those first years would have been entirely different too. Like if I had been able to say, I need your help, or I need this, or just allow myself to need those things, like I would have had a much more chill, lovely time in those early years, but I fucking couldn't. Mark that one.
It's okay. I'll find it.
I just couldn't. I just remember my brain being like just so sharp and so worried all the time. There was never a time where I was not running a loop of scenarios where I do the wrong thing or something terrible happens or
And so in hindsight, that it's logical and it makes sense that that was the beginning of the downfall of our romantic attachment. That was the initial.
yeah.
And I don't mean physically romantic. I mean just romantic in general.
Yeah.
I mean, it went from us being soft and understanding to, look, dude, I've been drowning all day. I just need you to throw me a lifeline here, and both ways.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. All you needed to do was relax,
Yeah.
and you couldn't.
Yeah.
And all
We
I wanted to
became-
do was relax, and I couldn't.
Yeah, we became business partners,
Yeah.
and the business was Cohen, and we
And
were
running,
just trying to
keeping
run it.
afloat.
Yeah, we were just trying to keep the business going, and that's interesting in hindsight. Hadn't seen that,
Yeah,
and
it
you
was-
can't see it in the moment. I want to stress that you can't see it in the moment. You just, I mean, to have that level of self-awareness and the ability to see that is just really hard.
Yeah, when it's all in flames around you, it's really difficult.
I will say though that I do feel like, well, no, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say that I gained self-awareness through that, but that's incorrect. I'm not. I don't think that's true. But
Okay.
either way, I looking back on it, I just, that makes so much sense that was kind of there.
Transactional AF.
Yeah. It was the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a perfect segue into when Cohen hit about a year and a half, I had an emotional affair that turned into a physical affair. And I also I spiraled. My brain just became an unreliable source of feedback. Honestly, there was so much going on and so much that I was trying to avoid all at once, and it just was kind of like a chasm of chaos. It was just very chaotic. And so after that affair, it was like I wanted to punish myself. I felt so bad for what I had done. It just felt so unforgivable. And I remember needing a way to externalize that, and that led me down a really destructive, 6 months spiral in my life, where Cohen was a year and a half years old, and I was just in the pits of my own mental unwellness. That's where we were. And I had people around me, geographically and otherwise, that I just did not feel safe around, and I didn't feel like I could get away from them. And so that contributed to, me feeling very squirrely and unreliable and just kind of all over the place. And it all culminated to me coming out of the closet.
Well, a second
A second.
affair.
Oh, yeah, a second affair. A second affair. Yeah. And it was with a person that was from my past, and was the first woman I ever fell in love with. And her reappearance in my life again was very much so a chaotic chasm, as much as it was a very loud, honest telling about the parts of me that I had been running away from for a very long time. The ways that time okay, how do I have to sit here in this uncomfortable for a second? I needed to realize that I was ashamed to be who I was, and that started well before I ever started a relationship with you. And to be honest about those things was too painful, and the discovery of those things was also very painful for not only me, but I'm sure for her as well, and I know for you. But that I could not forgive myself for what I had done. And it just spiraled me into the darkest place that I've ever been. And I ended up hospitalized. To try and get me to a better mental state. And that experience, again, was a chaotic experience, not therapeutic at all, but, but we made it through. And
yeah, that experience was wild for both of us.
Yeah.
Again, because it's interesting because it's almost like and again, this is kind of the uncomfortable parts.
Yeah, this is the reason I was telling you not to let your kids.
Well, for us, the tables turned there, and you were away doing what science said had to be done, and so I was thrust into
single parenthood
for a while. And it was hard because I had a full-time job. I had just finished school. I was in school at the time to get my bachelor's. I was doing all of these things. And then it was like, hey, you got to figure this out by yourself. And so it's weird because I didn't have parents who could help really. Mm-hmm. And then so my resources were very limited. So it was very...
I spent every day, all day, every moment with our son, and I had never spent a moment away from him prior to this happening. And I just remember how volatile it all felt, how vulnerable I felt. And it wasn't like I walked around all day imagining no longer being alive, because that's not the case at all. I walked around feeling like my child especially, but the people in my life ultimately would be better off if I weren't here. And I had a conversation with you. I was doing makeup at a fashion show, I think, and we had a conversation. I think I had come out of the closet like 2 or 3 weeks before this conversation happened, maybe 4 weeks, regardless. We had a conversation on the phone, and you were like, you either come home and be here in this family with us, or you leave me and Cohen alone.
See, that's interesting to hear your take on that.
Well, I think this is really the first time we've ever sat down and talked about this part for sure.
Because that's not exactly the way I remember it. I remember more, you had come out
mm-hmm.
and ish.
Yeah. Just
you hadn't told anyone yet.
Yeah.
But you said the reason this all culminated is because you were saying that you wanted to try to fix our marriage.
And on this day, is this what you remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well,
or that
I think it was the day before that. Okay. We had decided, and if you remember, the thing that you were doing a fashion show, and then that evening you were supposed to go to another event for the person that you had the affair with.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were supposed to go to the event for that person. And so I was under the impression that we were trying to fix our marriage. And so I said, hey, if you really want to, if we're going to fix things, I don't think it's in our best interest, yours or mine, for you to go to this event. Because if you go to this event with the person that was, I mean, obviously not she wasn't the reason that.
Sure. But
catalyst. She was the catalyst. She was the spark that lit the match or whatever. Anyway, and I remember saying, if you are going to go to that, then I need you to move on. Is that?
I just remember you, the ultimatum being, it's either this or it's you alone and me and Cohen over here. And regardless of whether that's what you actually said or not,
yeah,
my nervous system and everything I was feeling in that moment felt you say, if it's not all of us, it's me and him, and you can get out. You can leave.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I felt.
Yeah. Which I'm sure that was the interpretation. I'm not. I will say that I don't believe that I said he and I, only because, and I may be wrong here, but
You're wrong here.
I don't remember ever intentionally trying to take Cohen.
No, I don't think that you were intentionally. I don't think that was really. I think you were mad, and you were saying what you felt.
I vividly remember I was high key mad.
Yeah, and I was at this point. We had spent several weeks just with the weight of me trying to tell you, like, I am a lesbian. Like, that on its own is so much to process, that like any of the other things, which were huge and enormous on their own too, like, it was just too much. It was just too much. And it was weeks and weeks and weeks of this piling up. We're still living in the same place.
It's a powder keg.
Yeah, dude, it was literally a literal mine.
But I do remember, for me, for sure, you saying, hey, I want to fix this. I think we can fix it. And then you saying, but essentially you were like, but we'll start on Monday after I go.
Oh my God.
After I go.
Oh my God.
I swear.
I won't deny it, because I truly don't remember. And
you're like, I want to fix this, and I think we can work through it. But we'll start on Monday, because I'm supposed to go to this event this weekend, and I promised this person that I would be there. And I was like, you promised the person that you were having an affair with for months.
We made plans, man.
That you all made plans, and you're not willing to break those. Like, because that was, I remember when you said that out loud in the phone, I was like, did she have a stroke, dude? Like, is this not, how does this not add up to not being okay to you? Like, I can't be the only person in this room that doesn't believe this is not okay.
Matt, there were so many things that were not okay at that time.
So
I believe it. I won't deny it. And I'm sorry.
Oh, you don't have to apologize. I mean, when we decided to have these discussions and do what we're doing here, we knew that we were going to be reliving things. And like I pointed out to you yesterday, this morning, we're going to have different views on it. Sure. Because both of us were in these crazy exacerbated states where we were elevated. We were in self-preservation mode. We were fighting for our lives in some form or fashion. And that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. And there's definitely events that you can recount and give details of that I'm not going to have
Matching. memories.
well, that I'm not going to have those vivid memories about.
Sure. And vice versa.
And exactly. And so it's interesting because everybody talks about yellow memories. Well, not all yellow memories are good. That's where Disney got it wrong, dude. Because
some of those lasting ones really suck.
Some of those yellow ones are pretty shitty. And so that phone call specifically is a yellow memory for me.
Same.
And so I remember you saying that, and I
remember exactly where I was standing.
Quite befuddled, if you will. I was like, seriously?
This bitch is crazy.
She thinks that with her head? And so anyway, what that did though was it flipped the table and it left me with it left me in the situation where you had been for 2 years. It left me home by myself with Cohen trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting that I ended up experiencing that. But the same way you had to experience to some degree the, oh crap, what's next?
I don't think I'm the type of person, and I don't think I ever will be, that dips their toe in the water and does things slowly and calmly and with a plan and knows all the approach. That's definitely not how I do things. And I think that too added a lot of kindling to the fire, that I reached a place where I was ready to torch it all, and there was no reasoning with me otherwise.
No, absolutely not. You had made your mind up that that's what it was going to be.
And there was so many other things that were going into, like, the way that it all shaped up. There was just so many things.
Yeah. There was a lot of small fires that somehow found their way to each other. And
literally.
Yeah.
And then it was our whole life was up in flames, and we just had to do what we could, but also like stand there.
Yeah.
And just be warm.
Yeah. Enjoy the heat. Just eat a marshmallow.
Grab a hot dog, I guess.
So in that early times, as one might imagine, speaking from myself, and then it didn't come out of nowhere. I'm not saying it came out of nowhere. One thing that's interesting for me to think about is I had been so busy with school and all the things. I had been going nonstop. So when I did have to stop, it all hit like a Mack truck. It was like the atom bomb just went off. And I was furious because to me, in that moment, now granted, looking back, it makes sense. Looking back, it had been really 2 years in the making. But at that moment, I was like, where the hell did this come from?
Yep.
How? And that shows you how oblivious I had been to it, which is a telling thing and maybe therapeutic for you to hear and in some form or fashion, because I had been oblivious to it. I didn't slow down to look. I had all of these other things going on. It's weird. It's like having a vision of this career and where I was trying to go.
And you're very achievement motivated.
I am, absolutely. Yes.
That is
It's
the
an issue.
primary motivation in your life. And at home, there wasn't a ton of people being like, Matt, you're so good at your job. Look at how cool you do this thing. Like, you are making straight A's and blowing this shit up. You're killing it.
Cohen never told me that.
Yeah. And so,
That's
like,
crazy.
I recognize too that that was your thrive area. Like, when you went to work and when you went to school, those people were there to tell you what a great job you were doing and how fabulous you were at showing up in that space. And so that was a huge motivator for you to be like,
it was the feel goods.
yeah,
You know, it was a thing. But yeah, so I was super oblivious to it. So when all of that happened, I was, like I said, I was real befuddled. I was just dumbfounded. I didn't know, flabbergasted even. I didn't know what to think. And so it did create a level of malice and spite that I had never felt before.
Mm-hmm.
I was high key pissed. I was like, are you kidding me? How, like, I'll show you, you know.
In our now deleted third episode 3.1, we talked about how, like, wait, what was I just saying? Is it the curse of this past episode that I can't remember what I was going to say?
It must be. That's, yeah.
Oh, God.
3 is brutal to get through for you.
Oh, what were you just talking about?
About how it created a level of malice and spite. That
Yes. Okay. So in our last deleted episode, I had said that, you know, we just didn't argue. And what an absolute representation. Because, and you pointed out that we argued, you just didn't participate. And
I didn't show up.
Yeah. And, like, what a handicap to put on our ability to communicate. And I really think that played a big role in me not finding language to talk about how I felt.
Yeah.
Because when talking about how I felt, I just got a really cool baseline.
Yeah. That's
all.
I'm not here to listen to your complaints.
Yeah.
That's not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
And that's the absolute worst way to approach that. It's so invalidating. It's so just shitty. But, and I have no justification for it. I have no justification for it because it was wrong. It's something that I look back on it and I should have been more, engaged with the shitty times, you know, but I wasn't trying to live shitty times.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, I get your goal. Your goal was always like, okay, cool. I'll let you, say what you got to say and then we can move on.
yeah, it's one of those like, do you feel better now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, you go lay down and I will continue doing what feels good to me over here. So,
yeah, it was like, it was really difficult to know what to do in that situation because I can't make you talk to me. I can't make you hear me.
There was nothing you could do that would have made me engage with that. And that's where it was. And
yeah.
So, like I said in episode 3.1, it did help me find, like, going through our divorce and going through the separation, which initially was not good. It was not sexy at all.
No, it was very bad.
I found a voice that I didn't know I had. I found a voice to say, hold on, like, you're not gonna do this.
And I think too that I got to be on the receiving end of all the years that you didn't have a voice, as much so as it probably felt like you got to be on the receiving end of all the years I didn't have a voice and just was rolling with punches and trying to keep the train moving and all the things. So, like, I resonate with that feeling so much.
Yeah. Just years of pent up,
Yep.
like, oh, dude, let me tell you some shit.
And on the receiving end of it, like you figuring out you had a voice was brutal. Like you were.
It was sharp. It was sharp.
As funny and quick-witted and all the things sarcastic that you are, when you put that flavoring of malice in, and like, I want this to sting.
It's a hell of a goulash.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah, and I said a lot of things, admittedly, in the moment that were meant to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard thing to sit with looking back. And it's something that I have gotten better about. I am not good at arguing in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
When I am hurt or angry, my best bet for me and the other person is for me to take a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Because my default is to go to the sharp wit, sarcastic, cut you down, because that's where I'm at. And so it's not where I'm at. That's my humor.
It's just the easiest way for you to diffuse things too. Like passive aggression was your best friend.
Oh yeah.
And there was nothing that would get me riled up quicker than that. And so that's the cycle we found ourselves in for a solid 2 years.
Well, and it helped me realize why I don't argue, because me arguing does not yield a good outcome.
Yeah.
Ever. It doesn't yield a resolution. It doesn't yield healed feelings. I mean,
but I think your avoidance of it initially was an act of just like, if I don't participate, then the thing can't exist. It just will go away.
Yeah, yeah.
And instead, but I think now you realize that there is a certain level of communication that has to happen. It just can't happen when you're upset. And you have to wait a minute and let things process and sit, and then you can have a conversation.
We'll have the conversation. Absolutely. But when I get elevated, I bite harder. Yeah, I bite harder.
Yeah.
And I get super defensive.
Yeah.
Whereas if I can have a minute to process things, chances are I'm going to see like, yeah, man, you really messed that up. You didn't handle that the right way. Not most of the time.
You probably I also thank you to Kim Possible, my therapist, for teaching me about internal family systems, because all I see when I hear you talk about this, about how uncomfortable it is and how stabby you get on the other side, is like that you had two brothers. And so you probably never had a moment to actually process things. It was just things happening constantly and you having to deal with them in the moment, and all of those versatile personalities. I'm sure there was a lot of learning to just stab to keep the thing away, react and be quick-witted and fast.
Well, yeah. And growing up, my dad's really quick-witted. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not quick-witted around him, you're
belly up.
You're going to have some hurt feelings a lot, like a lot. So yeah, he's one of the quickest, most sarcastic people I've ever met. So if you talk to him for 3.5 minutes, you're going to see exactly where I get that from. Mm-hmm. So growing up, arguing with him, I got pretty good at it. I learned some things, for better or worse.
0 stars being on the other end of it.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up part 1 of this crazy journey here. Mm-hmm. Be sure to check out part 2. It's going to come out in a few days. But we appreciate you for listening. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate the continued support. We hope that this is resonating. We hope that it's hitting something.
Yeah, these 2 episodes for sure are at minimum heavier than what we imagine our normal content to be, but they felt like a very much unnecessary kind of storytelling time about what built all of this, where we came from.
Yeah. So hopefully it sparks thought, hope, conversation. We'll see. But
and make sure to catch the second episode.
Yeah,
Part
catch
2.
the second episode. Again, you can find us on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon. We're on them all. So check it out. Let us know what you think. We appreciate you so much. See you next week.
See you.